then they won't change. So it's ability to be able to give it and to capture it. And for the person to be able to take it in. And if you've been hurt in relationships, taking in anything from anybody else is a very vulnerable act. And so vulnerability becomes scary, and safety becomes prioritized over vulnerability. Safety becomes prioritized over connection, because with connection is always dependency and vulnerability. So these are the big challenges. And you invite someone in who spent primarily probably, a good portion of their life trying to figure out a way to survive relationships that have hurt them, and they come up with all these incredible strategies in which to be able to feel like they're safe and surviving. You're asking them to give up all of them and to take on something new and something different. It's going to be better for them, but it's going to be scary and painful for them. It's going to be very difficult to change. It's not going to be like you're telling them to go do a homework assignment and they'll come back and feel better. A lot of clients, especially couples, come in and they want candy in therapy, and you can give them candy. You can tell them to go on a date, and you can tell them to look each other's eyes. You can tell them to say things very nice to one another about the things they like and the gratitude that they have for one another. It's not that that's not useful or helpful, but it's not permanent, because all it takes is some sort of trigger, and whatever they said on Friday night that day is undone by Sunday morning. In a lot of relationships, and those are the ones that will show up in the therapy office, and the ones that can repair those conversations very quickly, and the ones that aren't as distraught about those distressful conversations are ones that are probably more secure, and they can self-correct. The couples that come into couples therapy are couples that can't self-correct because they're too bound by their internal reflexes in the relationship. So it's really an act of vulnerability for them to come in and say, we can't do this. Right? We cannot do this. We have tried to do this. We've read every self-help book we know of. We've done everything possible that we can think of. And we're coming in and we're paying a lot of money for you to help us. And it's active dependency that extend to you at the very beginning of therapy. And trust me, it is not easy for people to come to therapy. Not easy at all, especially couples. It's a lot of humility that comes with walking into therapy and saying, we can't do this. We're in bad shape. And we need help. Because we've tried everything, right? We're going to lose our kids, we're going to lose our marriage, right? And it could be that they're already in the process of lots of patterns of relationship destruction, affairs, lots of different things going on that are symptoms of inability to create and sustain intimacy with one another. Not just creating it, sustaining it. Because most couples have created some form of intimacy early on in their relationship, but sustaining it over a long period of time. Have you guys ever heard someone say, well, you know what, that's just what happens when you get married. When you're dating, you feel this way, you can never expect to feel that way again. Anyone ever heard that? Yeah. And then everyone nods their heads and go, okay, well, I guess that's all we got was when we were dating. The rest of it's kind of blah, but the truth is, that's not the case. It's not the case at all. I mean, there are certain pheromones that are released when you're dating that you'll never get back again, that are mild hallucinogens that make the person look better than they are. But outside of that, everything else can stay the same. It can be amazing through the rest of your life. It can grow in depth and maturity in ways that far, far outweigh how you felt at first in the relationship. But if these attachment styles get in the way, then it can lead to a slow decline of distress and more injuries and more pain. It's job security for us, but more injuries and more pain for individuals. And you know what? When it happens in the couple relationship, it trickles down to the whole family. If the couple isn't doing well, the whole family's not doing well. That was part of my draw to do couples therapy. I thought, what is the one thing I could do that would impact this world the most? If the couple gets better, the family gets better. The family gets better, the community gets better. The community gets better, the culture gets better. The culture gets better, the world gets better. All start with the couple. The greatest unity, the greatest thing that's ever been created. If we go back to the Genesis narrative, right? It's the very first beginning of the story. It's like it was at the point in which all God's creation were completed, and God then had Adam name the animals, and then had Adam. And it was at that point that Adam realized that he needed helpmate. Everything he created was not enough. There's just one piece missing, and then once Eve was created, everything, all that God created was good at that point. And so we're helpmates for each other, and that we are part of the window into God's divine love for us as partners. So we display that window, or we are a closed window, right? A dark display of God's love for us. And I don't think there's any other any other relationship outside the parent relationship as powerful in displaying God's love for us on this earth in those two relationships. That's why it's so important. And that's why we developed an entire theory around it. Because we're trying to make sense of this God image that was embedded inside of us that said, go and be in relationship with another, just as I am in relationship with myself. Right? And I am one within myself, but I'm also three different parts. And you are two, and you are one, and you make a third. And therefore you replicate the Trinity. And so here we are, right? This really powerful relationship. And with it comes a lot of fear and trepidation as a therapist. Because you sit with your individual clients, and Valerie will tell you this too. You sit with your individual clients, you're like, that was cake compared to this couple coming in here. I mean, it's like chaos in 0.5 seconds. You know, you guys saw the first night of class when we did a little role play. It's like, woo! It's out of control, and you're like, I don't know what to do. So this is a great, wonderful framework to look at what's going on in that room that's chaotic and say to yourself, I know what's going on. I'm not sure how I'll help, but I know what's going on, right? And then we'll also help you learn what to do in the scenarios of these couples. So, okay. So attachment, basically seeking maintaining contact with others, is viewed as a primary motivating principle in human beings from the cradle to the grave. The deepest calling of the human heart, this is it. This is it. Nothing more deeper than this. The deepest calling of the human heart is to be known, prized by another. I want to be prized. I want to be important. And I want to be known. I don't want to just be known. I want to be known. Right? I want to be known to my toes, the top of the head. And I want all that same toes, top head prized by you. So that is super important to who we are as humans and our ability to grow and mature. So attachment, what do you think of when you think attachment? This is my now 17-year-old. This is Logan. But what do you think of when you think attachment? What comes to your mind? Connection? Okay. A bond? Yeah. Good. What else? What's that? Security. Okay. Any other one words? This side, that side's weighing out on all the smartness. What do you guys think over here?
Comfort.
Comfort. All right.
Consistency.
Consistency. Yeah. That'd be part of it. All right, let me tell you my Logan story. So I had Logan up here for a reason. When Logan was just a little bit younger than that, he was just learning to talk. And so he could say a few words, but enough to where you could understand him. And so we were in Oklahoma City, and my wife worked at this church. We were very part-time. And it was often during the week, she'd go to the church, and she would make copies, because she worked with the college students. And so she'd take Logan with her. And so we had a nursery at the church, and Logan was really familiar with this nursery because he was at the nursery every Sunday. And so, I mean, we could just drop him off, he'd run off, do his own thing, and then come back, and he was great. No problems at all. So she would, when she'd go to the church in the middle of the week, and there would be no one in the nursery, but he was so familiar with it, she'd sort of just leave him there to put toys, and she'd run and make copies, and it was just right down the hallway. And so she could hear him if he needed her for anything. And so she'd done this week after week. Well, this one week she dropped Logan off at the nursery, and she went to make her photocopies. And something different happened in the nursery that never happened before. So she came back to make her photocopies, and she walked into the room, and she couldn't find Logan. So she started looking around the room. It's sort of like that parental panic, like, where's my child? And she comes around the corner, and Logan apparently had reached in between these shelves, reached in to get a ball, and he got his head in so far, he couldn't get it out. Like, you know, your ears get caught. And so when she approached him, she saw him sitting there, he was limp. She's like, oh dear. And she looked down at him, and he had a puddle of tears on the shelf right underneath him. He had fallen asleep. Right? And so my wife, who we talk about attachment all the time, and so my wife, in a panic, right, pulls him out, picks him up, he wakes up, right, and he hugs her, and she holds him, and she calls me immediately. She's in the nursery. She's like, oh God, I think I might have just destroyed our child. Right? She's so scared. I mean, he was in there. I mean, can you just imagine what Logan went through, right? Logan's in the play, he's having a good time, he's engaging, he's looking for a ball, he reaches in, he's stuck, he's like, okay, well, starts pulling, and then all of a sudden this panic starts filling him, right? His heart probably starts pounding, and he starts sweating, and he can't get his head out, there's no one around, and so what do you probably do? Start crying. He throwing out some attachment beds. And started saying, Mom, Mom, Mom. And then crying, then probably screaming and yelling until he exhausted himself to fall asleep. Right? He got to a state where he no longer felt like there was any hope that he'd ever get his head out. And so the best way he could survive was to fall asleep. Horrible, right?
Terrible.
Right, but I'm not telling this to my wife, right? I'm not describing this for her, right? Otherwise it's going to traumatize her and myself. So I said to her, hey, listen, it's probably okay. I think we're really good parents. I think Logan's got a lot of secure attachment experiences to pull from during this. I think he's going to be just fine. Let's just watch him the next couple days and make sure that he's okay. And if we need to do something, we'll do something. She's like, oh, are you sure? I'm like, yeah. I'm sure. In the back of my head, I'm going, I'm not really sure. Maybe so, right? You guys who are, I'm trying to be protective, but in the back of my head, I'm not going to tell you what I really think because I'm hoping I'm wrong. So it was actually, Logan did really well throughout the week. He was like having no problem sleeping. He was at home, he was playing around, having a good time. We're like, whew. My wife is feeling relieved. And then we get in the car on Sunday morning, and we drive to church. And we pull into the parking lot, and I go to get out of the car and pull Logan out of his car seat, and Logan goes, no church. And my wife's like, right, her face is like, what did he just say? And he goes, no church, no church. And I said, Logan, it's okay, we can go to church, we go to church all the time, is it okay? And so I'm buckling him, and I said, I'll hold your hand, we'll walk in church together, okay? And so he just squeezed on my hand, right? And you're kind of doing like that parental drag. But it's not like they're like limp like this, but he's like pulling, and I'm pulling him along, and I started pointing out things that I'd be familiar with, like, the person that greets, you know who that is, right? Yeah, see, they say hi to you every Sunday, and he's just looking at me. And so the closer we get to the door, we actually walk into the door, and then as we walk in the door, Logan grabs around my leg, like this, and he starts crawling up my leg. And it changed from no church to no nursery. No nursery, no nursery, Daddy, no nursery. And by the time I get to the nursery, Logan has worked his way all the way up and is now around my neck, holding on, right? I mean like a monkey, like gripping on me, legs around me. And I get to the nursery, and nursery workers have not been trained in attachment, I can tell you that. And so I walked up to the nursery attendant, and I said, hey, Logan's having a hard day. I'm just gonna hold on to him. They go, oh no, this happens all the time. They're grabbing his feet. And I'm like, and they're like the experts on child development. At this point, I'm like, no, I'm not gonna grab my child's feet and pull him off. Man, it's not good. I said, how about I just come in and I'll sit down and then we'll just see how he does, right? So I sit down, and Logan is like, I'm telling you, a Volcom grip, hanging on to me, almost to the point of shaking. And so I sat there with him, and I just rubbed his head, and I told him how much I loved him. And I had to do this. My wife was not going to be able to handle this, right? Because she was so distraught by what happened. I probably should have been in the service holding her and shaking her head too, but I had to choose. Since she had the cognitive ability to know that I was thinking about her, I chose him. So anyways, excuse me. So I was there for the whole Sunday school, all of church. Sat on my lap, didn't move. It was 6 weeks before I got off my lap. 6 weeks of going to church every week, sitting with him in my lap. And the nurse attendants thought I was an enabling parent, right? But I had a framework that was different than that. And then when he would go off when he first got off my lap, he got off my lap and he held my knee, and he reached over and he grabbed the block, and he picked it up and he crawled back up on my lap. And he sat there with it, right? And he'd get back down, hold my knee, grab another call above my lap, sit down. And eventually he would go a little bit further and a little bit further, but he'd always be like, and he'd go back and then sit on my lap until finally he wasn't engaging with the other kids for probably 8 weeks. And so he finally started engaging with the kids, he started getting familiar with the room again, wasn't as scared, and then I snuck out the back door. And he didn't even notice. Then I came back to get him, and then he noticed really quick, like, oh, I'm supposed to be scared. Here, Dad! And he rushes to me. So finally, I think he was okay. And I told my wife, I said, we just need to do what we need to during this time period, because from an adult perspective, we didn't do anything horribly wrong. But from a 2 or 3 year old perspective, right, his whole world began to change. His perspective about how safe this world is and how reliable this world is to be there for you when you need it shifted like that. From his little perspective, his little 2-year-old view, he didn't have a lot of experiences to reference. He didn't have a lot of trauma in his life. And he considered